For many, the name Valhalla conjures images of a golden hall filled with endless feasting and eternal rest. It is often seen as the ultimate reward for a life well lived, a warrior's paradise. But this popular image, while not entirely false, misses the profound and brutal truth at its heart. The entry requirement for Valhalla was stark. One had to die in battle, sword in hand, facing an enemy. This was not merely a preference, it was an absolute prerequisite. The common misconception paints Valhalla as a simple paradise, a place of unending revelry. Yet, the true nature of this legendary hall was far more complex, far more demanding. Valhalla was not a gentle reward. It was a brutal, profound, and purposeful training ground, designed for a destiny far grander and more terrifying than any warrior could imagine. Forget notions of eternal slumber or peaceful repose. Valhalla was never intended as a place of rest. It was a forge, a crucible where the greatest warriors were honed to an even sharper edge. This hallowed hall served as a continuous, relentless training ground for the Einherjar, Odin's chosen champions. Their days were not spent in idleness, but in preparation. Each morning, the Einherjar would arm themselves and march out to the vast plains surrounding Valhalla. There, they would engage in endless, brutal combat, slaying each other in glorious, bloody duels. Yet, as the sun set, a miracle occurred. All wounds would heal, the fallen would rise, and their bodies would be made whole again, ready for the next day's fight. This was the Viking definition of paradise. Not peace, but purpose. It was about honing skills, steeling resolve, and embracing the warrior's path without end. Every swing of the axe, every clash of shields, was preparation. They were being readied for an inevitable, far greater conflict that would shake the very foundations of the cosmos. Entry into Valhalla was not a matter of chance or simple piety. It was a divine selection, orchestrated by the All-Father himself. Odin, the wise and terrible god of war and death, was the ultimate selector of the worthy. His agents in this grim task were the Valkyries. These were not ethereal angels of mercy, but formidable, spear-wielding choosers of the slain. They rode over battlefields, discerning which fallen warriors were truly deserving. Valhalla was an exclusive realm, reserved for the elite. The vast majority of the dead, even those who died bravely, were destined for other afterlives, other fates. Only the bravest, the most skilled, the most ferocious warriors, those who met their end with honor and a weapon in hand, earned a place within Odin's hall. Their courage was their currency. When a warrior fell in battle, their spirit did not linger. The Valkyries, swift and silent, would descend upon the battlefield. They carried the spirits of these chosen warriors, lifting them from the mortal coil. These spirits soared, guided by the Valkyries, towards the heavens, leaving the earthly realm behind. Their journey was one of ascent, towards the celestial abode of the gods. They would cross the Bifrost, the burning rainbow bridge that connected Midgard to Asgard. It was a vibrant, shimmering path, a testament to the divine power that awaited them. Upon crossing, they would enter Valhalla, transformed. No longer mere mortals, they were reborn as Einherjar, Odin's chosen champions, ready to fulfill their ultimate destiny. The legendary feasting within Valhalla was indeed a central activity, a reward for the day's brutal training. But even these banquets held a deeper, ritualistic significance. Each day, the mythical boar Sehrimnir was slain, cooked, and consumed by the Einherjar. Yet, by morning, it would be miraculously resurrected, ready to provide sustenance once more. From the udders of the goat, Hydron flowed an endless supply of the finest mead, filling the drinking horns of the warriors. It was a drink of strength, courage, and camaraderie. This feasting was not mere pleasure or indulgence. It was a ritualistic preparation, a bonding experience that forged the Einherjar into an unbreakable force. It was a time for storytelling, for boasting, and for reinforcing their shared purpose. The overarching purpose of every activity, from combat to feasting, was to be constantly ready for battle. Every moment in Valhalla was a step towards the final inevitable conflict. The Vikings understood that the afterlife, especially one as glorious as Valhalla, came at a cost. Their understanding of death was intertwined with profound rituals and sacrifices. Elaborate burials were not just acts of mourning, they were practical preparations for the journey to the next world. Grave goods, from weapons to tools, were provided to aid the deceased. Ship burials, particularly for chieftains and great warriors, were powerful symbolic acts. The deceased was sent off on a final voyage, sailing towards the unknown, towards their destiny. In rare, solemn instances, human sacrifice was performed. These were not acts of cruelty, but profound offerings, a testament of devotion and a desperate plea for divine favor in the afterlife. While Valhalla promised glory, other afterlives awaited those deemed unworthy. Hell, a cold and shadowy realm, was the destination for the dishonored dead. Those who died of sickness, old age, or worst of all, cowardice, found themselves in hell. It was a place of quiet despair, far removed from the vibrant halls of Odin. A warrior's greatest fears were not death itself, but the manner of their passing. To drown, to succumb to disease, or to waste away in slow decay meant a dishonorable end. The terror of dying without glory, of being forgotten by the gods and by their kin, was a powerful motivator. It drove them to seek battle, to embrace a glorious death. Valhalla's true, terrifying function was not merely to house heroes. It was a means to prepare for Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, the end of the world. The Einherjar were being trained day after day for this ultimate confrontation. They were Odin's army, his last line of defense against the forces of chaos. Ragnarok was the prophesied final battle, a cataclysmic event where gods would fall, giants would rage, and the world would be consumed by fire and flood. It was an ending of all things. Yet, from the ashes of this destruction, a new world was promised to rise, fresh and green. This cycle of destruction and rebirth was central to the Viking worldview. The Einherjar's destiny was to fight alongside Odin and the other gods, to stand against the monstrous forces of Loki and the giants. Their purpose was to fulfill their sacred duty, even in defeat. Consider the stark contrast between modern ideals of peace and comfort and the ancient Viking values. Their paradise was not one of ease, but of eternal struggle and preparation. The Vikings held a profound appreciation for struggle, for purpose, and for a life lived fully, even if it meant a violent end. Their existence was defined by action and honor. For them, true paradise was not a physical place of endless pleasure. It was a state of being, a continuous striving, a readiness to meet destiny head-on. Ultimately, for the Vikings, paradise was not peace. It was purpose. It was the honor of fighting for their gods, their kin, and their world, even if it meant facing the end of all things.